Hey, welcome into a special edition of the pregame show. It's holiday time, man. Christmas, New Year's, all that. And we got the gift that keeps on giving. Slash, that's multiple presents under the tree because he can do it all. Kordell Stewart is joining us. Merry Christmas, brother.
Hey, man, Merry Christmas to you too, brother. I tell you what, this is the time of year where, with football being a conversation piece here, if you're not playing, this is the time to be out in the streets getting gifts for the family, getting prepared to watch the games, because everybody is at their nicest place and spaces right now because they're doing a bunch of giving and a lot of people receiving. So this is a good time of the year.
Absolutely, man. And you talk about this time of the year. It's also reflection time. You look back where we were a year ago with Coach Prime getting announced, coming to your school, coming to see you. What was it like for you this time a year ago going into Christmas season and knowing your friend Deion Sanders was coming to coach Colorado Buffs?
It was honestly an unbelievable situation. I remember when I got the phone call, I was getting a couple phone calls, I think from a 214 number, which I think is Dallas. I think, don't charge that to me. But I saw some numbers coming through and I didn't know what they were. And then all of a sudden I got a text right after and Prime like, this is me. He hit me back. And then we had that conversation about 30 to 45 minutes, maybe right at an hour, if I can remember correctly. And before you know it, with identifying that he is a candidate without him telling me directly, 2-3 weeks later, he ends up getting a job. And I'm like, my man, and the rest for me was history because as you can see right now, I comfortably wear my gear now.
Yeah.
And I do it with pride. You know what I mean? And so many other teams, you see the Miami Hurricanes, you see a lot of Notre Dames, you see all of the historical institutions that had a lot of winning going on wearing their Nelia. And so here it is. I find myself, because of the pride and the excitement with the tradition that we've had, knowing that one of my good friends, let alone a great coach, great inspirational speaker when it comes to kids uplifting men, uplifting the communities, changing the culture and the sense of how you think about people. Taking over at the University of Colorado after one of my favorite people, Bill McCartney, a couple of decades ago, being a part of. Come on, man, it's been an unbelievable ride, to say the least. Being that in about 3 or 4 games, we may have lost by a touchdown, 7 points or less. And with what we've had on the field, with the time that was given to Coach Prime to assemble this football team, let alone going back to the springtime, letting, I think, over 60 guys leave then, to all of a sudden bringing another 60-plus kids, those kids only having 3 months to really get prepared, truly prepared to play. Them kids gave 110%, and everybody, when the games came on ESPN Eastern Time at 10 o'clock at night, was up watching the game until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And so the excitement still exists. I'm enthused about where we are. And to know we came this far to get in this space that we're in moving forward is beyond words. That's why he was a Sportsman of the Year.
Yeah. Twofold I want to touch on, tradition and going forward to the future. You were part of the glory days Colorado football. The winning culture is like there. When Coach Prime now being there 1 year, and you guys, some of the alum, yourself, Westbrook, Daniel Graham, guys like that have been coming back and been motivated and pouring into the new young men. What is it like seeing the vibe that you were in CU with, from the Michigan Miracle to now seeing what this team is about from a culture standpoint? How does it feel and vibe?
Oh, the vibes are excellent. I mean, that's what everything is about, good vibes, right? The vibes are in a space with the ambition to win. It hasn't been like this from top to bottom in a very long time. Let's just be transparent. And to know that when coming to the University of Colorado, whether it's through the transfer portal or even as an underclassman, as in a kid coming out of high school, you know what you're walking into. I think the precedence has been set. That's the way it was when I came in, coming back in 1991. Matter of fact, when I came in 1991, I got there early in the month of June. Ended up meeting one of my former teammates, the late Charles Johnson. Ended up getting a job. Stayed with him over the summer for those couple months. So I had a chance to meet everybody, hang out, and all that good stuff. And once the season started, I was comfortable, just as we see kids able to do now with the early signings coming in the month of January, if you will, to start their first semester in the springtime. So comparable to that time, it's the same vibe, same energy. But it's a little different today. You have social media where you can promote yourself. Coach Prime can promote the program. The kids can come in with the mentality of understanding there's an opportunity to get paid to play. Something that was a big conversation way back when, but never something on the forefront because we never saw the future in the front of it. We just thought it was just a conversation piece. And now here it is. It's real and active. So, and then Boulder, Colorado, Neely, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're back at home right now in Mississippi, but you know how beautiful that place is to wake up, rain, sleet, or snow. And let's not forget about the sun that we get 300 days out of 365 of straight sunlight, right?
Yeah.
So, you could get caught up into the matrix of the beauty and the excitement, but most importantly, it makes you feel as if you have something to work towards because there's no distractions. You don't have to be concerned about what's going on outside. And, I don't want to give all the secrets away of how we live there, but you don't have to worry about somebody messing around with your stuff. You can leave the doors open in that city, and everything is cool. And that's what I mean by when I say the secrets. That's how comfortable you can get. But that's the winning ways outside of that. That's the winning ways that were once there when I was there to where Coach Prime has demanded that, not just on the football team, but throughout the entire institution and especially throughout the program.
Yeah. Good juxtaposition, man, because when you recruited there was a lot of effort to get outside of, the Rocky Mountain area to recruit. You had guys coming from LA and Compton, guys like yourself coming from New Orleans, Florida boys. When you look at this recent class, number one in the portal, and you see the caliber of athletes and the diversity as far as geography goes, what does it say to you about the future this next season, this offseason?
Well, it's crazy, right? Demographically, we always like to claim our territories, right? So per capita, we like to say in the state of New Orleans, we per capita have the best and the most athletes coming out of the state of Louisiana. That's how we vibe with it, right? Because as small as we look as the boot, we still are producing from Neville to Shreveport to just the city of New Orleans alone. We compete and battle with the LAs, with the Miami areas, to the Houston and the Dallas. We're competing with them with small numbers. And I think what you see is, of course, us going to the Big 12, we being along the southern border a little bit more along the sides of the Midwestern portion of the country. Those are the areas where I would like to say we have the greatest talent. I put the southern border up against any border, whether it's the East Coast, the up north portion, the West Coast. I'll put all those players up against anybody in the country. Now, of course, that's going to be more of your great athletes, right? But then when you start talking about those hogs that you need to have up front, you need to go to Connecticut. You need to be in New York. You need to be in Syracuse. You need to be in parts of Pennsylvania and all those different areas where those dudes are bred, British Indiana even. You need to go in those, in which we have that on our offensive line, right? We got guys from Houston. We got guys from UTEP. We got guys from UConn. We got guys from Indiana that's there. I've been following everything and seeing how we actually are moving. And defensively, we got guys coming out of LSU. I think we saw some guys came from Alabama, maybe, I think I saw.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, and so when you really look how we're working with guys who are the D word that Coach Prime always mentioned, dogs. We got to work from the inside out because if you look at the top four teams that's playing right now in the playoffs, you got Michigan, you got Washington, you got Texas, and you got Alabama. What do they do best? They play in the trenches better than most. Georgia does a good job at it too as well. Florida State, you got Ohio State who tries to create the efforts. We've seen them over the years with their historical runs of going to national championship games. They play between the tackle better than most. And that's the only way in the game because there's a part of the game that you could take anywhere in the world at any moment in time. Take it to the North Pole or the South Pole, and that's playing between the tackles by running the football and stopping the run and applying pressure. When you can create that atmosphere and that energy, you can go up against anybody and compete. And I think the position that we're in, being number one in the transfer portal, And grabbing those types of kids puts us in the running for people to say, okay, we saw what they did last year with what they had. Shedeur being the most sacked quarterback in all of college football, but yet still in the top 5, top 4 in passer rating, completion percentage, and also passes yards thrown. Just imagine what we do when we have that stuff sealed up on the inside. People are going to have to identify that, honestly, even though I know it became a slogan, that we're coming, it's the God's honest truth. It's real today that we are coming and it's going down.
Man, perfect segue to what I want to talk to you about as far as going forward. Can't have an all-time quarterback from CU, played in the NFL high level, Super Bowl quarterback, Kordell / Stewart, and not talk about the QB, not talk about Deion Sanders, a.k.a. grown, a.k.a. legendary. You know, you look at those 50-plus sacks, as you said, and what he was still able to do, 2 touchdown passes short of breaking the Colorado season touchdown record. He did surpass the yardage record. When you see him play, you know, what goes through your mind? A lot of folks out there saying, oh, he's just coach's son. That's why he's in that spot. They think it's daddy ball. But when you look at the numbers, you got a phenomenal, once in a lifetime, probably definitely once in a generational quarterback in Deion Sanders.
Who could have taken that butt whooping and still produced the way he did? You tell me one quarterback. At the University of Colorado that was on the roster and still is, to a player throughout the country. Tell me one player. If you can think of one. You think Caleb Williams could have handled that at USC? Getting beat down like that and coming back every week? Matter of fact, let's play daddy-son game. The daddy wanted to pull him out against Oregon State. You remember that? And the boy said, no, I'm good. I got it. Like, that's the dog and the leader that young man is. Let's get away from the nepotism portion. I get it. I understand. I get it. But when there is nepotism, sometimes you could come back and say, that kid ain't that good. This dude is the truth, man. You know, I would love I've spoken to him a few times when I was there about some stuff that he could do to help himself because of the lack of protection that he was getting up front. And he ended up responding in a way that wasn't trying to change him, but just to help him identify it in a way that can stop that pressure from coming. And he ended up responding that way. And when I saw him last time when I was in town at the event with the Sportsman of the Year Award, I said, great job with what we talked about. And I commend Shedeur, grown, legendary, for being able to conduct himself the way he did, the way he handled everything with grace, didn't respond in a negative way, just went about his business accordingly. And if you don't like nothing else about him, if you think it's the daddy thing, you know, look at the player and see how he responded to adversity. Because if anyone here who played the quarterback position that's listening, or even a sports writer, if you will, journalist, you tell me one quarterback that's been hit 50-plus times, led the country in sacks, or hits rather, and let alone sacks. Let's not include the hits in that. That's just 50 sacks. We're not talking about hits. That's 50-plus touches that you were getting that would make someone want to tap out. And this dude still was in a conversation midway to the latter part of the season, speaking about the Heisman Trophy. I mean, and the only game he didn't play out of all of that pressure and pain was the dead last game of the season. Come on, man. Like you know, that's a tremendous, to me, jewel that you have on that roster of a player that's willing to take it for the team, in a sense, when it comes to the hits, and keep his mouth closed. Not saying I would say anything, not saying I would gripe, but you couldn't blame him if you heard him say something remotely close. If I can get, even if it's something basic like saying, if I got a little more time, I could. You know, that's kind of undertone of saying I ain't getting no protection, right? Yeah. But he didn't say any of that, man, and he stayed close to his teammates, and he balled, man. And as a former player, former coach that coached quarterbacks that I saw go through some of that pressure and had to help them psychologically to deal with it, you know, that's the kind of dude you want as a coach. That's the kind of kid you want as a position coach, a head coach, a teammate. But most importantly, as a parent, I want my boy to be able to go out there and produce like that and show off in a way that people probably didn't think he would be able to shine. And I commend Shedeur for playing as great as he did. Records are made to be broken. I remember when he broke, I think, the first one. I think the most yards thrown in the game. I'm like, man, what are you doing, Prime? What are y'all doing to me? You know, why are y'all putting me through this type of pressure back here watching this stuff? I want to see us win and do good, but you can't break no more. You can't break every record on the charts. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And the beautiful part about it is that's what he's supposed to do. Right? Yeah. That's what he's supposed to do. And you can't hate the play. You got to hate the game. The game has evolved to where kids are able to get penalties on their side, being able to throw the ball to multiple receivers, being able to play an up-tempo style offense, to where if you don't break those types of records that's been put in there, whether it's me having 2 tight ends, 2 backs, something's wrong with you. Matter of fact, you need to tear it down like completely. And I'm glad that he did. Because it's well-deserving, because he played his butt off, man, and really got the snot beat out of him. But he's still smiling and standing tall and doing his thing.
Yeah, no one in America watching football here or around the world would have been upset if he came off the field and kicked the Gatorade over or, grabbed the lineman by the face, man. You saw none of that. One of the things you touched on, Slash, was that some advice that you poured into Shedeur and saw him receive it. When you look at this program and the guests that Coach Prime attracts in, not just former players at Colorado like yourself, Westbrook coming and chatting with the receivers, Graham talking to the tight ends, you talking to everybody, including the full team in the team meetings, but even Terrell Owens, who didn't go to Colorado, or Michael Irvin, a Warren Sapp, or Mark Henry, a wrestler. What is it? What opportunity does it give for these young men to not only with their world-class coaching staff, but the guests that the coaches attract to come in and work with them and teach them things that they otherwise wouldn't get exposed to?
Well, one, Coach Prime is a magnet when it comes down to being able to create and facilitate young men through inspiration, right? Whether it's stories, whether it's his history of how he played the game, just what's been written in the books with being able to go to a World Series and a Super Bowl. When you start looking at what he's done over his years, staying relevant and, doing his thing the way he has, to the extent that he has, it's remarkable within itself. But then to lend that to these kids, whether it's going back to grab someone like myself, Mike, Daniel Graham, as you mentioned, and many other guys, Michael Irvin, to the Terrell Owens and guys like that, all you're doing is trying to inspire the Rock that came back. All you're trying to do is to inspire these kids, to let them know, especially with the Rock. I mean, we played against him in 1992, playing against Miami. He was on the D-line. He, Warren Sapp, and Ray Lewis was the linebacker.
Yeah. And
I remember playing against him, and all of a sudden, as time progressed, you start seeing him wrestling, and he raised the eyebrow up kind of deal, and with his character, when he's doing his thing in the wrestling ring. And then all of a sudden now he's one of the most marketable, likable, whether it's actors, entertainers, whatever it may be. You even got people wanting to run for president for the sake of conversation, right? So when you have Coach Prime diving into that space for these kids, that's him lending himself to this space of identifying success. Once that success is identified, then the stories are told. Now the kids can go back and do their own homework if they don't know who these guys are and say, dang, I could wear number 88 and be like a Michael Irvin. Dang, I could wear number 81 and be a Michael Westbrook. Dang, I could be an 81 and be a Terrell Owens. Dang, I could wear number 10 and try to mimic, running around or making certain plays or throw the ball as far as, there's so much that's given back to these kids that's much bigger and greater than most coaches can do over their 10-plus year tenures at some of their institutions, even some that are succeeding. These are former players that went to a Super Bowl like myself. There's players like Terrell Owens to a Michael Irvin to The Rock and his success in getting awards for how great he was, to a Michael Westbrook being one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver, dating back to 1995 and being drafted as the 4th player taken overall in the draft. There's a lot of stories and depth in these spaces for these young kids because it's a different climate of kids we're dealing with. It's almost like, and it's just to due respect because you got to adjust to the times, right? And Coach Prime has been able to capture how to adjust and be in a space to relate to these kids, to get them to come. And back in the day, we had no social media. We had no huddle that you could find the information on. You had to know someone at the coaches' clinics, right? When the coaches go back to the high school clinics, had to go back to the clinics and maybe meet somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody to say, hey, I got this kid. You know, and when you can create that type of environment for these kids truly have no choice but to have a chance to succeed, Neely. And I think the kids are benefiting from it. I think they love it. I don't think one kid is disappointed in it. You have some kids that left, but that's their own prerogative, right? In a sense. But the conveyor belt will continue to move on. We're still going to be maintained being number one in the transfer portal, but knowing when coming to Colorado, you will get an appetizer, you will get a phenomenal entree, and most importantly, you will get an outstanding dessert with a great sweet tea that's done by our chef there at the University of Colorado that gives us a chance to enjoy our meals, because that's what this thing is all about. You got to feed the kids, man. And when you feed the kids, it's going to put weight on them in a certain way that's going to either make them look healthy or look out of shape. And a lot of kids are getting fed some crap to the point where they're not as healthy as they need to be. But I think right now at the University of Colorado, we're doing about as great as you can.
You know, Coach Prime has always said, Mama, and that's the extended family as well, wants to know one or two things. Where's her baby going to sleep and what is her baby going to eat? And that's a big part of that recruitment process. You know, you touched on, some New Orleans and Louisiana sports. And, you know, although you didn't have social media back then, you had a hell of a coaching staff that knew how to recruit and knew how to find players. I mean, you had LSU right there in your backyard, but you go all the way to Colorado, you know, to play ball.
They weren't recruiting black quarterbacks at that time. And just be transparent.
Let's talk.
Yeah, they weren't recruiting black quarterbacks at that time. We were moved to – they had a quarterback by the name of Leonard Valentine. We used to call him Moon, because Moon was everything of what I was and what we knew what was taking place, Moon actually, in Houston. When it came down to let's just go to any quarterback that you can think of that had a great arm, whether it's Dan Marino, whether it's Steve McNair, whoever it was. Leonard Valentine, who we call Moon, had the arm and the capabilities of doing it. He ended up being a field goal holder behind Tommy Hudson back at that time. Remember Tommy Hudson at LSU? He ended up being a field goal holder, never got a chance to see the football field. And so, you know, LSU was one of the ones that, and then they wanted to change Marshall Faulk to secondary, to a cornerback or something like that, I think, coming out of Carver High School, I think in Louisiana, because we were playing against them in our summer camp game. And Marshall and I came out, I think at the same time, or a year before, I think at the same time. And so I'm not going there. For what? I'm going to always be an LSU Tiger. Yeah. But they weren't recruiting African-American. They weren't recruiting black quarterbacks at that time. We were. That was an era where we were told to move to other positions because our ability was so good, right? And, you know, I was trying to say Warren Moon, but it was Warren Moon. And it's just one of those things where when I saw that, where Leonard Valentine came from my high school and he went to a state championship and won, and saw his story, and then LSU really didn't come around, I think, until Colorado came on board, because Colorado came at the latter part of my run. Southern and Grambling came at the last minute and wanted me to come to the Bayou Classic. And I'm like, man, y'all all of them right around the corner. Y'all climbing like this? Like, I'm not going to those schools. I don't care what you got. I'm not going. I'm going to always be black. I'm going to see that every morning when I wake up. I'm going to see that every morning, my mom and my daddy, everybody. I'm going to see that every day, my whole family. But if y'all not recruit me to give me a chance early enough, that's not going to be the reason why I go to your institution. I'm trying to go somewhere where they're winning. I get a chance to get on television, and I have a chance to go somewhere else. After Colorado went to the national championship 2 seasons in a row, and I was their number one recruit in 1991, and Coach Mack told me when going in this office when it was time to leave, I said, can you give me some time to think about this? Because he asked me, what did I think? Man said, I'll give you 48 hours. I literally had nothing else to say because I was in such awe of what I saw. You know the snow caps when you're looking at your place. And you see those snow caps in the summertime on the far west mountains, not the ones nearest us, but the far west ones over in Aspen and Vail and Beaver Creek, Telluride. And you see it's 90 degrees outside. You still see snow on the cap on the come on, man. What do you mean? Now it's snowing, and right there at the foothills, at the Flatirons, there's snow everywhere, but the streets are dry. Where they do that at, Neely? and you're telling me I have a chance to be the starting quarterback when going from being an option pass quarterback to a pass option quarterback, and then we're going to be on national television? That was a no-brainer. That was a no-brainer for me. And the beautiful place, the place is so beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that is still streamlined and consistent over the years and decades even now, is that's what people are looking for, opportunity. And one thing about playing for Coach Prime in Colorado, you're going to be seen. Every game is going to be on TV. Not only you have an internal documentary, you got channels like this covering the team, NIL opportunities through the roof.
That's right.
So for a guy that's looking for opportunity to be coached by the best, having guests come in and pour into them as well, it is hard to argue against the atmosphere that he has there.
It is. I mean, first of all, just being there alone is unbelievable. But you can then take it for granted if you're not careful, right? Because you can really get comfortable in that space. But the thing is when he does it the way he does, you have no choice but to get exposure. You're either going to get exposure or you're going to get exposed.
Yeah.
And more times than not, you're going to get the exposure. It hasn't been that way for a very long time, a very, very, very long time. And to see it happening to the magnitude in which it's happening, to the length of time over one season in which it happened, in which it will happen again, not again, but again. Think about what's going to happen in the Big 12 when we go. Think about it. When we have to play whoever's in there, whether it's Kansas State, Kansas, whoever else is in the Big 12, like Baylor, whoever else is in there. Yes. I think Texas and Oklahoma, are leaving, right, to go to the SEC, or is that next year or the year after next?
No, yeah, they're gone, but Oklahoma State will still be there.
State, there you go. You did say State. I'm sorry, you did say State. But those were the bullies, Texas in particular, with Steve Sarkisian coming in with the philosophy in which he had, which was playing like we actually went through the process in the portal and getting the kids out of high school, which is from the inside out. You see what was established and how that was created. You got UCF putting them on the map. You know, you got UCF in the Big 12 that just got in, I think, last year too. So we're going to have a chance to be in that space of exposure again, I think, through the entire tenure of Coach Prime, being in Boulder. Once you win more, it invites the Foxes to want to consistently come back. It forces them to have a fight between them and ESPN and all the other networks that want to be a part of who's going to be the one, or are we going to share this time? Right?
Yeah, they found a way not to fight. They were both there on the same Saturday, same game.
Exactly. So when I'm on the show with Skip Bayless and Keyshawn Johnson and Undisputed, I think it was, and Michael Irvin, I'm sitting up here seeing ESPN on the other side. I'm like, boy, I tell you what, boy, when you hot, they like you, don't they? They want to be a part of the action, don't they? And that's the vibe in which we spoke on a moment ago that we have at the university. Anytime you find a kid, black, white, and or indifferent, come to that institution and feel the energy that's presented by Coach Prime and his staff, how can you say no? It's got to be the bag in some case, right? To make you say no. And sometimes that get shut down because you end up identifying that the experience in college is one you'll never get back again. And you have to make the most of it through your experience, your time spent, but most importantly, the exposure that you can get on whatever level you can get it on. Coach Prime is the only coach that I can identify that puts himself in the space of, number one, being himself, but most importantly, being able to look just like his kids, to the point the ones that like him, black, white, and or indifferent, that look like him, want to be like him in a sense of winning ways, they come to Colorado. And it's going to get to a point where you ain't going to be able to get in there in a minute.
Yeah.
You ain't going to be able to get in a minute.
I predict, Slash, that you're going to have kids who would rather play for him as a walk-on than be a scholarship somewhere else.
And look, and that's a great point. The family got to be doing good. Kid got to have some academic scholarship money for the sake of it, and to be able to get in to that place. Hell, as much as I'm in, I want to get in even more. I'm trying to tell you, like, bro, like real talk, like the vibes at that institution has been one for me that has been phenomenal throughout my career, whether it's playing there or playing in the league to being retired. I didn't need anyone at that institution, whichever AD we had to Rick George, to ask me to come back to the institution or be in Boulder or at some place there to determine if I come back or not. So for me, I'm a little different. You know, the place did a lot for me coming out of New Orleans to the point where that becomes my little safe haven to duck away, hide, relax, get away. Yeah. No one bothers you. You go up in the mountains, have dinner. You go do whatever. You go snowmobiling in Frisco, Colorado. Do whatever it is you choose to do with whoever you choose to do it with. Your friends, CJ, a couple of the former players, Alfred Williams. You know, those guys. See Derek West, one of my offensive linemen that still live there. You know, I go back and spend time with those guys every so often. And it's those fond memories that Bill McCartney helped create by finding me out of Marrero, Louisiana at John Ehret High School to have a chance to visit Colorado, and it changed my life overnight. I will forever be indebted to that institution and that community, more or less, not because of anything other than my experience there. Now, when I say the institution, there's no one department per se. It's just in general, because walking on that campus and being a part of that lifestyle with those other kids that came from other places that were athletes or not athletes was some of the greatest times of my life. And to now see it be as fun as it is in the game of football where I played and when I had my fun, come on, dude. Come on, man. You have no idea. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Hey, I can never hear you say Marrero and not think of MC Thick. What the fellas be yelling?
Marrero, talk to me now. That's it, you know. And MC Thick was my boy. Like we went to middle school and high school together. He lived literally less than about 10 houses as you come out the door to the right of me on the other side of the main street that runs through the entire neighborhood. MC Thick right there on the corner. I remember him. Like it was yesterday, cruising down the street. Real slow. Look at you. What do you know about that?
Hey, man, I'm your next door neighbor in Mississippi. MC Thick come to the clubs here. Hey, Slash, so look, we're going to let you get out of here, man, but a couple more things I want to touch on. You know, Coach Prime, this time last year, all through the spring, even up to kicking off, he never would say anything about how many games we're going to win or make any predictions. He just said we're going to get better. We're trying to go 1-0 this week. Well, here's what's changed in 1 year. Knowing what he has coming and what they're going to do with it, at that premiere at the Sportsman of the Year Awards, you heard him say, we're going to make sure Miss Peggy goes to a bowl game this year. What a bold prediction. And when you heard that, having played in bowl games in Colorado, what did that do to you?
Oh, dude, to know that for a week to 2 weeks during the holiday season, you were just going to be working on football, pretty much no class, and you're going to be on the road, whether it's in the Fiesta Bowl staying at the Buttes, inside the hotel that's inside the mountain, or that's in Hawaii playing in the Hula Bowl, staying on the Big Island. Now, when or even playing in the Blockbuster Bowl down in Miami at the time, which were our bigger bowls, right? Fiesta Bowl was a big bowl, but it really was the Orange Bowl. But if you could play in the Fiesta Bowl, or you can play in the Hula Bowl for the vacation purpose of it, or even the Blockbuster Bowl, we played against the Alabama Crimson Tide then, you've accomplished something. And every year I was there, we went to a bowl game. It was not one time we did not go to a bowl game. Now, there's so many of them to the point where if you win just 6 games, you get a chance to get in. I think somebody won 5 games and got a bowl game visit this year. It's becoming participation awards. So if I'm listening to Coach Prime about a bowl game, I understand most would be like, well, you know, but just a bowl game, you know. We're talking playoffs.
Oh, you're talking top 12. Expanded playoffs as well.
We talking playoffs, bro.
Yeah.
And so let's put some respect on that thing. You know, we don't Coach Prime ain't creating this transfer portal to be number one to take anything less than the biggest. Has he ever been that way? This may have been a season where he was battle tested because of how we weren't able to really win the way he's been accustomed throughout his entire life winning. Yeah. So it took some adjustment for him to dive into this space of us losing by so close of numbers or points, if you will, to games that we're just losing. Like, that takes a resolve that's so much bigger and greater than the game, than winning. But it's all about the purpose in which you're trying to present to people. And so with that being said, with what we've accomplished, we have the ability to get into the playoffs. So whatever bowl game that'll be is going to be within that playoff circle to me. So if it's a 12-team playoff, I'm putting my money on us being the top 12 team. One of those teams to get in, because we do have that type of talent coming in. Am I drinking too much of the Kool-Aid? Am I being scared and worried and concerned because of how things transpired last year? Yeah, you start drinking that wrong Kool-Aid, yeah, you're going to be timid and you're going to be weak. But if you truly believe and you're enduring all of what you've been through, but yet you're processing the process the right way, and you're looking at it the way you should, Coach Prime know what he's doing. He's got the right staff around there. He got Coach Shermer around there that's got his hands around the offense for now, in the sense of, you know, making sure everything is good. I like what Coach Shermer did in the latter part of the season. You notice our defense wasn't giving up as much points before, because when you go out there and you go 1, 2, 3 and out so many times, the defense is getting over 80 snaps. You know, that's unfair to them, right? But the balance that we try to create at the latter part of the season, holding those teams to like 26 to 27 points or less, that's admirable, to say the least, even though it wasn't the flashy numbers, but Shedeur wasn't getting his butt knocked off like he was. You can see the beginning of trying to have a level of continuity with the offense and defense playing together. But most importantly, if you can get the special teams, what we saw end up evolving, right, giving us some good field position, now we can actually dial up some really good plays between the tackles to make something happen. With what you saw in those latter part of the season, because Coach Prime and I talk every week, literally every week we talked after the games, whether it's texts or calls. Just watch how things are transpiring and you'll see the direction we're going in. And if you're paying attention, it's going to be on and popping in 2024 when it comes to what we do. And I'm so immersed in what I see us doing in this transfer portal with these high school kids. We still have another signing day in February that we have to do. We have to get some more kids. We're not done yet. And so with that process being in place, if you don't, I said this when I came to the institution last year, when I was there for that week, I was there for spring ball. If you don't jump on now, you got another chance, you're going to be missing out. And that's a promise. That ain't me just talking because that's my boy. It's because of what I see us doing and the direction we're going in the efforts that we're taking to do the right thing. We're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to do the right thing. And those kids, the one kid you got from Pittsburgh, the defensive end, outside linebacker kid, number 9 coming out of Pitt, when that kid had his conversation when he got posted of being an official buff, that kid said, I'm about sacks. When you have a kid tell you what he's getting ready to do and what his purpose is here, I love that kind of stuff, because you're going to have to stop it, which means now if this kid is thirsty for sacks, guess what he's going to open for the next guy? Because you're going to have to double team him because he's not going to be denied. Man, come on, man. Boy, y'all better stop playing. People play too much. People play too much, man. People play too much. I'm just telling you, man, it's just too much for my blood pressure. I'm 51 years old. I ain't getting old. But I'd be damned if this thing ain't about to pop off, man. Like you ain't got no choice but to believe that. And I'm anxious and excited to see it happen.
Man, well, damn said and done. Kordell / Stewart, brother, we appreciate your time. Always a pleasure to see you in Boulder, see you in Zoom, any way we can see you. And man, you have a Merry Christmas, man. I know you're out there now giving a gift. So just give me 3 of what you got me last year, because that's what I'm getting you this year. I'm getting you 4.
Well, you like to put it down, so I got to make sure everything you put down, I got to have a big enough situation for you. So if that means I got to get 3 big plates or whatever pans, I got you covered, brother. But I'm gonna be back there soon. You know how I do. I'll be back there soon, hopefully for a long time. But I'll be back regardless to come and spend some time with you guys because I love being around the energy and the vibe with Miss T and Ty Stewart, Sister Stewart and all the coaching staff and all the guys who are in the recruit, Corey Phillips, yourself, and everybody. If I forgot Coach Flea and Prime and all the guys that's protecting Coach Prime, and even seeing Gunner, not making eye contact with Gunner, but cut my eyes at Gunner, let him know I see him,
Yeah.
But just all of everything that we have going on there right now is so good. I'm gonna be back soon. Don't worry.
All right. Well, hey, let's close it out with this: cruising down the street. Real slow.
Real slow. What the fellas be yelling. Marrero. Talk
Appreciate
to
you,
me
brother.
now. Alrighty, man. Be good, baby.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.